So just so you know, Jordan, this is one of the things I started doing just within the last few weeks is
Mhm.
just reaching out to people that I A found interesting, B
Uh-huh.
was curious about,
Yeah.
C felt like they had some level of success that
Uh-huh.
honestly it would be cool to be able to just find out more about them and
Uh-huh.
what led to their success. And so
Thank you.
that's why I reached out to you. And
Thank you.
we talked earlier about us
Uh-huh.
exchanging things on LinkedIn, but this is
Right.
our first time to actually live talk, so this has been
That's
fun.
right.
Really cool.
And can I
So
ask, is this free
yeah,
flowing? Can I ask you questions
absolutely,
back? Like, yeah,
absolutely,
I've been
yes,
in the
absolutely.
driver's seat for 40 interviews now in the last 30 something days. So I would
Yeah,
cherish the opportunity to ask questions back and do some listening.
absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that, man. Yeah. Well, so and I just watched your TEDx talk. So you're a
Oh
TEDx
wow.
speaker, you're an
Yeah.
author,
Uh-huh.
you're a coach.
Mhm.
How did you get there?
Oh my goodness. I got there by being intentional about wanting to find my way here. But for a long time, David, and I would love to hear your story as well. I was not like this at all. Growing up as a kid, I was so the phrase, from the outside looking in.
Yeah,
You know that phrase?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
was always on the inside looking out. That's who I
Mm,
was growing up. And growing up, I had a lot of friends. I had great relationships. I was blessed and fortunate enough to be in this amazing family. I was a good athlete. I was a good student. And on paper, there was nothing wrong. Like I was set up for this traditional by the book life that was going to be great. And that followed me to college, where I went to a good school and I had good internships, and it was looking like everything was going to be normal. And even when I took my first job, it was stable. I was making a lot of money in a very prestigious position. And, it wasn't until I looked at that job and said, am I doing this because I'm making an impact, or am I doing this because of the title and all that kind of stuff, that I'm actually here, right? And
mhm.
that's when I ultimately decided to leave that and figure out what it was that I wanted to be. But even then, I didn't know exactly what it was. So I came out with that first book with no real plan, no intention, no strategy. I didn't know I was going to be a coach or a speaker or anything. It's just like, because I explored my curiosities, and I wasn't afraid to dive into things. I was more afraid of what would happen if I didn't dive into them.
I love
Then
it.
I was able to realize, things that I liked, things that I didn't like. And
Yep.
ultimately, it was these things that I've chosen that I want to continue doing. And because I've been on this own journey of like understanding what is meaningful and fulfilling to me, I want to help other people figure that out as well. So like that's where we are now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now have you lived in New York your whole life or
I'm from
did
Long Island, New York.
yep.
And then I went to school in Evanston, Illinois, so like
Yeah.
45 minutes outside of Chicago, which
Chicago.
actually I realized was amazing because Long Island is 45 minutes outside of the city, right?
Ah,
And then on Long Island, you got the beaches the other way. And then in
yeah.
Chicago, I had the lake the other way. So it
Right.
really felt like I was at home, even though I was a 2.5 hour plane ride away.
That's
And then
interesting.
I did a fifth year at Northwestern. I got my master's in management studies in from their business school. So I lived in the city of Chicago, which was really nice. And
Okay,
then
sure.
I came to New York and I moved right into New York City. So now I'm in New
Okay.
York City for the last almost 2 years now. Yeah.
Awesome.
What
Awesome.
about you? Are you
And
are you from Pittsburgh?
I am not. No,
No.
actually I grew up in the state of Indiana. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
born and raised there.
Yeah, I've
Was
driven through
there.
quite a few times.
Have you?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, probably if you drove, yeah, you drove the toll road or the turnpike
We
come
did
across.
that, and then also I traveled all over for soccer. So I
Ah,
drove through
okay.
Indiana. I remember a lot of big windmills in Indiana, right?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. So
anyway,
I,
you're
I,
from
I just
Indiana.
moved to Pittsburgh. Well, I shouldn't say just moved to Pittsburgh. It seems like just, but it's been 15 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So and that was a big move for me.
Hmm.
I moved. I mean, I spent the first 40 years of my life in Indiana.
Hmm.
Got a job here in Pittsburgh when I was 40.
Mhm.
and moved the family,
Wow.
and we've been here ever since. So
Wow. Yeah.
it was
You
yeah,
like
it's a big
Pittsburgh?
move. I do. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I especially like it this time of the year,
Uh-huh.
May, June, July, August,
Yeah.
September,
Yeah.
October, November, maybe not so
Mhm.
much.
Then it starts to taper off a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
that impact your sports allegiances at all? Are you a sports fan?
Yeah, it's interesting. It did. So I say that I'm a converted Steelers fan because
Okay, cool.
I grew up, which is
Yeah.
funny because I grew up being a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh, that
And,
is
because
funny.
where I lived in Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Mhm.
it was either the Lions, the Bengals, or the Bears. Those were
Sure.
kind of we didn't have the Colts at that time, when I was
Yeah.
growing up.
Ah, gotcha.
So I was a Roger Staubach and Tom Landry
Mhm.
fan
Yeah.
more than anything. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, so after being here for 15 years, I'm pretty much a Pittsburgher.
Nice. Nice.
So
Very
yeah,
cool. Very
yeah.
cool.
So I'm curious a little bit about your um, your TEDx talk. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that. I'd love to kind of like
Yeah.
how did you
Yeah.
get to do that, and how did you come up with the talk?
Yeah. So how I got the TEDx talk is totally through what we're doing right now. Human connection,
Yeah,
authentic conversations, genuine curiosity, right? And
yeah,
ultimately adding value to another person and having this approach of I'm not here to try to get anything from you. I
right.
want to just get to know you, right? So I'll preface with that. It was all about the relationship that I was able to build rather than just having a good pitch or having a good platform, right?
Hmm.
So basically, are you familiar? There was a book that just came out recently. And hold on, let me turn off LinkedIn so I don't get that silly little noise.
Being yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I see uh there were oh sorry. What I was saying was there's a book that just came out called The Third Door.
oh
Are
yeah,
you familiar with that
I
book?
read it. Yeah,
Oh,
Alex
you read it?
Banayan. Yeah, I
Exactly.
have. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So, in getting a TEDx talk, I see a couple of different doors, right? And you can have the first or the second door where you are an author or you're a professional speaker and you have a platform and you have a following and you apply online to this TEDx talk and you have a great concept and you get invited to interview and they accept you because of the interview because you are a credible source, and that's great. That's unbelievable. All power to Brene Brown, who's going to get any TEDx talk that she wants to give. Right? It's
Right,
it's
right.
phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
But for people like myself at the time when I was doing the TEDx talk, and even where I am at right now, even though I appreciate you saying I've accomplished a lot, but I'm just a sliver of the way there. Um, there is a third door to getting a TEDx talk, and it was through this human connection and the relationships that I built. So the first thing that I did was there's a little bit of logistics involved, and I wanted to get a talk that was 3 to 5 hours away from New York driving wise, because I didn't want to fly
Okay.
anywhere to do this talk.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I filtered that down on the TEDx website, and I don't know, maybe 20 talks were still available. And then the next filter, the only other filter really, was I wanted it to be 3 to 6 months away from the talk because that's normally when the TEDx organizers are booking their speakers so that they have it
Okay.
covered. They're not scrambling for people. They have some
Sure.
time if others have to cancel or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that filtered down to like maybe 5 talks. I don't remember the exact specifics. And then when you're on the TEDx website, and I had these 5 talks that were that fit with my criteria, the organizer's name is on each of the TEDx event pages.
Okay.
So I put each organizer in an Excel sheet and I researched each one of them on LinkedIn and I like really did my research. I looked for things that we had in common,
Sure.
academic, professional, mutual friends, interests, and I crafted a meaningful connection request. I didn't just hit
Yeah.
connect. I
Right.
messaged them saying, "Hey, I noticed this, this, and this. I think we would get tremendous value from continuing the conversation." Right?
Yeah.
Boom, send it to 5, maybe 3 answered, right? So if
Yeah.
3 are answering and I'm having these great conversations, trying to add value where I can, ultimately we get to the point of, what I'm doing, and I get to explain how I'm this aspiring speaker and writer, and this is what my message entails. And well, I also happen to notice that you organize a TEDx event. So if you are or do happen to be looking for speakers, then I would love an opportunity to apply, right? Or I would love an
Yeah.
opportunity to speak. So 2 of them led me to their application where they said, we want to give everybody a fair chance, so please apply online. And I didn't actually get those. But one woman, this amazing lady named Sarah, who does TEDx Clinton Middle School up in upstate New York, she said, let's have a phone conversation. We got on the phone, we chatted. I told her about what I was going to talk about. And she said, that sounds perfect. The audience will really get a lot out of that message. It's really in line with the theme. And I would love to formally invite you to our TEDx Clinton event. And that's what happened. That's how it came to
Wow.
be. It was through that third door
Just that human
of
connection.
of
Yeah.
building a relationship and ultimately being in a place in a position where I can add value to her, where I can add value to the people that she values, and that's
Hmm.
that's how it all came to be.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Earlier you used a word that is I love, and I'm learning to live by, and it
Yeah.
was the word intentionality or
Yeah.
intentional.
I knew
You
you were
were,
gonna
yeah,
say that.
yeah. So
From
I
your last
love that.
podcast interview.
What's that?
From your last podcast interview. I knew you were
Oh
gonna
yeah,
say that.
yeah, yeah.
Because
So
yeah,
that's a big thing for me, and
right.
so I love that. What are some other things that you've done with intentionality, or been intentional about?
Yeah, so this is another great example of human connection and how I have reached out to people, coldly, and not literally coldly, but cold emailing people,
Yeah.
and built relationships that led to opportunities that I wanted to be intentional about, right? So
Right.
right now I'm in the middle of these 90 podcasts in 90 days.
Yeah.
So I was intentional about so last year, basically the first bit of intentionality here is last year as I was going through my first book, The Getting Comfy, I told you I didn't have a strategy. There were no
Sure.
goals. I kind of just was so fed up with this world of numbers and metrics and coming from this traditional path where every single thing was accounted for, where I just said, I just want to see what happens. I don't
Mhm.
care about any of this. So I didn't set up anything for myself, and I was like super unintentional.
Mm.
But in learning and being aware of what was going on in last year's experience, I noticed that for me to perform optimally, I needed to be more intentional and set goals for myself and set limits and really have lofty expectations, right?
Right. Yeah.
So in addition to that, last year I just dove right into things and I didn't plan. So if I had an idea, it would have been okay, 90 podcasts in 90 days. Let's start today. Like post on LinkedIn, let me get started.
Yeah.
But because this year I was being more intentional about this, I took the whole month of April to reach out to people and said my podcast 90 in 90 days is going to start May 1st,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
that was the first bit of intentionality, was having that planning period and being a little bit more patient in this entire game.
Got it.
So the next part again was about my communication, and it was the same exact style. I kid you not. I filtered on LinkedIn by podcast host and first connections, and 400 and something people came up. I put them in an Excel sheet. I researched 10 a day, and I
Yeah.
reached out to each one saying, here's what I like about what you're doing in your podcast. Here's what I'm doing, and here's how we can add value to each other, right? So
Yeah.
all of this with the intention of spreading the word for the Cloud9 journey and the book and the coaching and the speaking that I'm doing on it. So that was
I
definitely
love it.
another great example of it, where it's totally based on conversations, right? And
Yeah.
if you notice, one more thing, David, is I haven't used the word networking yet,
Oh,
because
right. Right.
I'm one of those don't say networking, it scares people kind of guys.
Yeah. Right.
And I haven't been networking in my mind. I've been building relationships, growing relationships, maintaining relationships, and
Yeah.
ultimately making a bunch of friends. which is the
Right.
coolest part, which is really the coolest part.
It is. It's really so cool. And you know, that's the thing that one of the elements that is so, or the values that I hold really so dearly is this human connection
Yeah.
and practicing the human touch. And one of the things that I practice on LinkedIn is that if somebody connects with me, then I have a like a 45-second video just to reach out and say, hey, thanks for connecting. I appreciate it. You know, this
Yeah.
is who I am a little bit. And
That's
if you ever
great.
want to do something like this for, you know, 15 minutes, let's jump on a Zoom call so that
Yeah.
we can talk, we can connect. And
Right. That's
to
awesome.
me, that's what networking is about. But it's
Yeah.
really not networking, it's really building relationships so that when I see someone that I can help or put, you know, two people together,
Yep.
it's a relationship. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah, your
absolutely.
connector. That's awesome. And I love the 15-second video idea because not only is that you being authentic and they get to see you, they get to hear you, they get to see your facial expressions, but also it's unique, right?
Right.
And I love that because I'm always trying to think a little bit differently than other people, and
Yep.
that's your thing. That's your little bit different than everybody else. Makes you stand.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
what makes you stand
exactly.
out.
Yeah.
That's great. Cool.
So you talked about your Cloud9 experience
Mhm.
book. So talk a little bit about that. What led you to that, and you tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Cloud9 story is like one of those epiphany euphoria type stories where I didn't even have that for the first book. I just wrote it because I needed to get it out there. But
Yeah.
this one is really cool. So the journey to Cloud9 started with me driving in an Uber with my Uber driver after a very introspective weekend, to say the least. And I'm usually the guy who wants to chat with the Uber driver, get her, him outside of the daily norm of sitting there in silence. But because of this weekend and the day that I had just had with my friends, sort of just talking about real like life topics rather than the nonsensical 24-year-old guy stuff we usually talk about on Sunday football.
Sure.
um, I just wanted to like reflect in the backseat of that Uber. I'm very glad I did not because I saw a boat in the East River, and the boat was actually called Cloud9. So I looked at the boat and I said to my Uber driver, "Huh, that's like a very cool name for a boat. What does Cloud9 mean to you?" And his responses actually spark plugged the entire Journey to Cloud9 book, movement, coaching, lifestyle, everything, because he was talking to me about these momentous life events that he had experienced where he had never felt that type of euphoria, right? And he talked about the day he got married, the day he had children, the day he moved to America, the day he had some childhood memory, right? And it was all these things that added up that allowed him to say, I've lived a Cloud9 life, right? So
Yeah.
what I did after that was I put together a book manuscript, and we can get more into the book if you want. But I also wanted to continue talking about this Cloud9 concept. And the
Yeah.
more I talked to people, the more I realized there were not just necessarily Cloud9 life events, but there were also Cloud9 moments that people
Mm.
had every single day to look forward to, right? So it
Yeah.
wasn't just the day they got married, but rather it was the moment at the end of their day where they had dinner with their wife and their children, and that was their Cloud9 moment, this unmatched feeling of happiness that they had during that day. So that's
Yeah.
what Cloud9 is all about now. It's how can we create these moments throughout our lives so that it's not only the big events that we can look forward to, but it's also these smaller, more meaningful ones too.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about now.
Love that, man.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's so cool. Because it focuses your mind on looking for those things
yeah,
as you're recognizing them. It's like looking for those Cloud9 moments,
yeah,
and when you look for them, you can find them because you know human you know the human psychology, we tend to look for the things that are wrong or
right.
what went wrong and the disasters and all, you know, the traffic and all of that kind of stuff. And but then when you really look at it, you know, like you said, you know, I've had a lot of my cloud nine moments
Yeah, I was just
sitting
gonna
around.
ask you if you had any that come to your mind.
Yeah, yeah, a ton of them do. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I've lived a cloud nine life. I mean, I've been blessed beyond my, beyond what I deserve.
Mhm.
But a lot of my cloud nine moments come around the table. My wife was very intentional about having an evening meal together, so that all of the kids come together, and even now, even though not all the kids are around anymore.
Mhm.
Um, we right now generally there's at least two, my two youngest, my two
Mhm.
youngest boys, or my third boy, as well sometimes is around, and just talking and hearing
Mhm.
them interact is
Yeah.
amazing to me. That's a cloud nine moment. But
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
will also tell you, so um I have one cloud nine moment that I go back to
Yeah.
over and over and over again in my mind.
Oh, I need to hear
um,
it.
yeah, so when I have a morning practice of
Uh-huh.
visualization and meditation.
Yeah.
And so I have a memory of my grandmother who, we would go on family vacations. We would go to
Mhm.
Florida,
Yeah.
and there was a hotel.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was considered a motel because it was
Mhm.
just a single story, small little U-shaped
Sure.
building with a like a community center right in the middle where the pool is, and
Sure.
I remember her, because I got up early. I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I remember her taking me out on the beach for a walk in the morning,
Uh-huh.
walking me along, holding my hands, and then we would find coquina shells. I don't know if they're these little like shells that kind of like burrow. They come in and they burrow into the sand, and so
Yeah.
we would collect those, and then we'd bring back in a bucket, and then she'd give me like fresh orange juice. I mean, like the real stuff,
Uh-huh.
like not none of this box
Yeah.
stuff. It was
Yeah.
fresh.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, to me, that was an amazing cloud nine moment that I remember, probably 55 years later. It's amazing.
That really is. That
And
really
the power of those moments can be
Mhm.
really strong, can be really
Yeah,
strong.
I love that one. I'm trying to think of which category or which chapter of the book that would fit most into, and I see a couple. I would say one is one of the components of a cloud nine moment has to do with playfulness, right?
Hmm.
And it's sort of like you had this. It was when you were a child, but so you had this childlike energy where this important moment didn't have to do with anything more meaningful. And I think that's the
Right.
importance of play, is that this was just an experience for you to enjoy the moment. That's what play is so amazing for. That's why my cloud nine moment, like almost every day, comes from playing sports, right?
Oh,
It's
shit.
that's what you're thinking about. You're so intentional, like you like to
Yep.
say, and
Yep.
present and aware of what you're currently doing. I think that's where the cloud nine comes in for you.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah, it's being in the moment, because
Mhm.
I can tend to not be in the moment. I mean, my past has not been so much being in the moment. I'm always futuristic, looking
Right.
ahead, looking what's next,
Right.
and so I'm recognizing how to do that. That's I'd say that's it for me for
Yeah.
sure.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
What have you had a cloud nine moment today?
Today?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know yet, honestly. I try to create cloud nine moments in whatever I'm fully immersing myself in. So
Yeah.
yesterday I said that each podcast or each conversation I have is a cloud nine moment, because this is what I'm getting so deep into. This is the state of flow that I'm in every single time I have one of these conversations. Um, but today, I don't know. I don't know if I can pick out just one moment. I think all of the talks I've had today have been pretty cloud nine esque.
Love it. Love
Yeah,
it, man. That's
yeah,
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah,
So if I came up to you at a dinner or a gathering, and somebody else came up and said, "Hey Jordan,
yeah,
tell me what do you do? Like what kind
yeah.
of work are you in?" How would
Hmm.
you answer that question?
Oh my goodness. Well, I am actually a huge proponent of having a very long-winded answer to that question. You know, I'm one of those people who, if you just say, like, "Oh, I'm in tech," you know, like that's not a good answer, you know?
Right,
So
right.
so for me, I would really say that I am a guy who, no matter what the medium is, speaking, writing, coaching, I am on a quest to evoke emotion from other people every single day. And whether that emotion be happiness, sadness, laughter, anger, confusion, whatever it may be, I want people to start thinking, acting, and behaving and feeling differently every single day because of what I am putting out there in the world. I think
Love
that's what
it.
I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool.
Mhm.
Well, that's good. So, what I'm always curious, and I know I'm going to be cognizant of your time. So,
No, I got time.
what how would you define success? What does success mean to you?
Yeah, that's such a tough question. I love that it is a question because first and foremost, success has to look different for everybody. So
Hmm.
even though you know you and I are on these different paths and we haven't necessarily taken the traditional approach at this stage in our lives, that does not mean that I would call my investment banker former college roommate not successful. You know,
Mhm.
he's
Mhm.
doing what he wants to do. He loves that work that he's in. He loves
Mhm.
being at work for 16 hours of the day and sleeping the
Yeah.
other 8. You know, that's his definition of success and he's living according to it. So he is a successful guy. I think I'll answer this question by saying what wouldn't be success in that scenario. And that would be the investment banker who's doing it just to go through the motions because society and the people around it, and the people around him or her expected him or her to be an investment banker, right? And it's somebody who's not deliberately living according to a certain plan, and no matter what the plan is, if you're living according to it, then I believe that you are successful. And that's what the Cloud9 book is all about. Basically, I show a man's life where his real life has been defined by a series of decisions where he ultimately chose based off of society and what others around him wanted him to do. And that has led to him to a life of depression and isolation. But I juxtapose that with his Cloud9 life where he's able to relive those situations, make
Mhm.
the choice that is more aligned with his heart and his intuition, and that has led to his Cloud9 life. So that's what I think success is living according to that Cloud9 life.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it, man. Love that. So, let me ask you this, just kind of a final question here.
Yeah.
How do people get a hold of the book? You know, where is it, and let everybody know, you know, where they can get a hold of that.
Yeah. So the book is still 6 months away. It
Is it
is,
okay? All right.
yeah. So I'm not even in the first round of edits with the publisher.
Okay.
And I just want to get people starting to know about the Cloud9 concept now, though. That's why I'm doing all of this early and being
Yeah.
intentional about it because I'm doing the complete opposite of what I did with the first book, right? And I want to put those two experiences side by side, and I think I know which one I'll be choosing moving forward
Good.
because this has been so great, and people are going to know about everything that's coming, and the book will be this light at the end of the tunnel where that's like the gift. That's the Cloud9 gift. That's the moment where the book will come out. I think that'll be the
Yeah.
Cloud9 moment for me is when people can actually read this story, this fictional story, which is super important because uh, it allows for interpretation and you know use the story to craft their own Cloud9 lives. But anyway,
Yeah. I love it.
I didn't answer your question at all. But the place to find me right now is journeytocloud9.com. And that's all
Okay.
spelled out journey, T-O,
So,
cloud, Nine.com.
okay.
And on there, you can find 90-second Cloud9 moments that I've been doing with people. You can find 9-question interviews that people share how they've attained Cloud9. You can find more out about the first book, more out about this upcoming book, more out about the coaching, and then if you want to throw your email in there, every Tuesday and Thursday, I send another Cloud9 moment of a different person who is talking about the happiest that they've ever been. So it's a lot of good energy. It's a lot of positivity. And that's what this whole thing is all about. It's that daily dose of happiness, that one moment a day, or those moments throughout life that we have to look forward to and
Yeah,
also
man,
reflect upon.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Well,
Yeah.
hey, I so appreciate you taking some time just to share your story, talk with me, and
Yeah.
be able to just, and for me to just be able to get to know you, quite honestly, because I
Yeah.
think that
I like you said, um, it's always about building relationships,
Yeah.
and I love building relationships,
Yep.
and
That's so true. Yeah. I'm glad we finally did this. It's been overdue.
I know, me too, man, me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, so good. Well, I'll look forward to really like following your journey,
Thank
and
you.
I know this won't be the last time we talk, obviously.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And anything I could do to help you or add value to whatever you're doing, please let me know. That's like my number one thing is trying to promote other people's work and their journeys. So
Awesome.
whatever I can do to help, let me know.
Will do, man. I appreciate that a lot.
All right.
Appreciate it so much. Yeah, man.
Cool.
Hey, good talking to you, Jordan.
You too.
Thanks again. And I can't wait to hear about today's Cloud9 moment from you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, David. Have a good
All
one.
right. See you, man.
Bye.